This video is about responding to the entire legal system that is about promoting 7 things because politics is driven by religion. So the first thing that the legal system is about, well, first you have to understand feminism. Feminism is in actuality panentheist etherealism, with the idea that I was somehow my mother's body. I was never my mother's body, right? That's their premise, right? It's the premise that they continue to own whoever they are suckling, either by the umbilical cord or by the narrative of love. Another way that the legal system is corrupt is the idea of equality. Monohierarchy is the idea behind equality. And monohierarchy is the idea that one is the same as the law. Now, a judge functionally does this, right? And so they're most prone to doing this because they actually alternate, like the blinking of an eye, between identity and numbers and science, right? They get it all over unified. They don't actually catalog and categorize reality and see the 7 identity centrisms that people have. There's numerological identity centrism, that is the different numbers that we emerge with. There's the abstract adherence identity centrism, which is the varying values, obedience, family heritage, expendability that we have in relation to literally anything. There is the material identity centrism, where our bodies literally are different. There's the hierarchy identity centrism, where we have the natural hierarchy dealing with merit, the natural authority dealing with like a parent's authority, where we have artificial hierarchy dealing with businesses and their structure. The artificial hierarchy there is literally to give distinction to the value that is there because of the existing natural hierarchy of merit and natural authority that exist because of law conferring itself without that monohierarchy, right? The laws of nature do not result in monohierarchy. And then there is the artificial authority that deals with title, which is where people get their idea that they can come up with equality. Because you see, equality is actually a title of privilege. Privilege being an exception to an established set of rules. Equality is anti-nature. It's just an application of free will and title. Then there's the investment identity centrism that deals with how a person invests in a tool, a relationship. All right? A relationship is a tool to express yourself. Now, here's the thing. I'm not the person that I'm expressing myself through. Right? So that's where we get the matter of dealing with feminism, because that's their argument. My body, my choice. The idea is that they get to lie, thinking that they have you in a circular state of reasoning, right? They sap you, right? They kind of make you dizzy, and then they do what they want. But subconsciously, they still believe it. It's not their instinct, but it is in their subconscious, meaning it is the internal reasoning continuing, because they're invested, meaning they can't go beyond that intellectual tunnel vision that they have established for themselves. And then there's achievement identity centrism, which is basically about how we have not the same moment event of authority because of the previous identity centrisms, including new opportunities, right? And then there's the experience identity centrism, where people believe they are the transpositional analogy, where they are the symbol, right? Where they're the avatar of the thing that they are worshiping. It's similar to believing that one is God because one worships God, making oneself a part of God, which is what panentheism is about. But in the political sense, it's about monohierarchy, because nature would never allow a monohierarchy, but because a battle could result in a victor being able to tell a lie that becomes the history, they get to claim that they established equality by destroying other hierarchies. Then there's the matter of understanding divorce in the context of race mixing, which is anti-white and anti-original seven race fathers, meaning it's anti-heritage. And natural law penalizes race mixing. People of different races cannot have a baby that has the ability to both receive and donate organs. The genotype must match. But because there's this body centrism, this atheistic body centrism that causes people to prioritize the idea of meaning coming from matter because they believe matter is perfect, but it's based upon the idea of the monohierarchy. They believe they are nature, which is panentheist or pantheist, right, where there's one. And then there's also the political enforcement, right, their propaganda, where speaking the truth becomes the truth, right? It's the circular reasoning of the self-feeding narrative where they believe their own lie. Race mixing is based upon ignoring the instinct to reject that which is not compatible, because there's something called pre-existent knowledge, right? A priori knowledge, or if you want to, the Akashic record. I don't apply the term Akashic record because I don't think the runes, the letters align. I don't think it fits the definition, but there is such a thing as knowing without learning. Because you already know everything, it's merely an unpackaging process. All right? And experiences are something to react to and respond to, hence it's all in the reflexes, where we all are able to be impromptu or off the cuff, where we get our sense of insight and epiphany and the thrill that that gives. Then there is reincarnation, which is gestaltic rebellion, which again depends upon this claim that one is either the symbol that one is worshiping, or that one is not the symbol that one is not worshiping, right? It's about how a person defines their identity. And reincarnation causes a person to no longer have a continuity of lineage, right? Love loses its eternal purpose because the line of authority where eternality comes from is abandoned. So those that believe in reincarnation are prone to divorce because they believe that a line of authority can be restored to then acquire eternality. They're still seeking eternality, but eternality is determined by four things: cardinal, which is masculine; the blade, which is masculine; the wound, which is feminine, that deals with desire, right? And the dialogue, that because it has a beginning and an end, is masculine. The cardinal is the beginning. The dialogue is the ability to actually repeat and end the beginning. That's what the dialogue is. It's about placing that which is in today and then summing up the timeline. Divorce also finds itself as being promoted by consumerism, which is what hypergamy is based upon. Consumerism is nihilism, where there are 4 degrees of nihilism. There's the original assessment that something of value that belongs to the pattern of creation does not have value any longer. Not because of something that happened, but because it's the premise that it never did. All right? It's about asserting that meaninglessness is meaningful when applying it as a label, claiming that it is authority in order to produce that eternality that is only produced by the masculine. In other words, it's a dildo. Nihilism is essentially a lesser masculine, and it's like pedophilia. You're trying to take the judgment of a little child to be the same as the judgment of an adult, where you're taking the little boy and trying to take all of those tears of suffering and saying, oh no, it's merely the man telling a story. They're denying your childhood. They're not playing with dolls anymore, pretending that they're mothers. Because they don't believe they're mothers. Divorce is also because of immigration and diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is all about replacement, because they're about replacing you. Because they think that they can have, it's like shoplifting. How do I put it? Because immigrant bacteria steal enzyme jobs, right? You know the message of probiotics? You have enzymes that are there to help digest naturally what you eat. The medical community, along with the atheist paradigm, has taught that you need that which is an animal or not of your own race in order to survive. It's about substitutionalism. And because we live in a culture of disposability, the pattern of establishing disposability is in truth just about replacement, because if it's all interchangeable, then it's a puzzle. And puzzles are supposed to be fun. And women enjoy puzzles more than men, which is why women file to divorce more than men. The psychology is that replacement is a puzzle, meaning they don't understand the unconscious trauma of being a human being. I'm able to explain why in a different video. And finally, the last reason for divorce is that love is dogma. love is love, therefore love sacrifices for itself. That's their dogma. That is the dogma. Love has always been dogma, and that's what MGTOW, men going their own way, confuse as being the nature of woman, because they get those feel-goods by being with women, and it's the promise. Okay, love is to importance, importance is to prioritization, prioritization that is rigid and is not reactionary is called doctrine, meaning that there is no instinct to restore a hierarchy, meaning that once something is torn down, you're not elevating it back up. And the reason would be because you're accepting what was done. Not because it had authority, but because you don't have authority. It's the impotence of men that men believe that they are, that women gained power. When a man stopped believing in himself, so did the woman stop believing in the man. That's the dogma. If Jesus didn't believe he was the Son of God, no one would believe that he was the Son of God. I'm not trying to equate Jesus to the sex of man. I'm trying to state that Jesus made a promise. It is bait. Love is bait. That gestalts two images in one image, that gestalts importance. Okay? And those are the 7 reasons for divorce that are currently there. And it all begins with a confusion pertaining to who is who, which is a problem of consciousness, meaning that people don't know the pattern of creation whereby all things are arranged, meaning someone is doppelganging authority and causing people to think that there is something that has authority when it doesn't. And that would be the Constitution, because it excludes man's right to exclude, because the document was dedicated to man, the white man specifically, because it cannot justify claiming authority based on the 7 things mentioned. It's not demonstrable. It doesn't have divine authority. It is thereby a document that derives itself not from line of authority, but from an attempt at balance. Balance only applies to matter. It doesn't apply to ethics. Ethics is black and white. You don't balance black and white. Balance is to enforcement, which is pressure-based. And because we live in this culture where feminism is Freemasonry, patriarchy that they were historically referring to, not esoterically referring to, but historically, meaning exoterically referring to, it is Freemasonry and Freemasons that wrote the Constitution are the problem. And it's because they believe in the principle of protogonos, which is an alternate of Greek religion. Okay, the Greeks didn't actually worship a hermaphrodite, a missexual. The Greeks were trying to understand the process. Love does not give context. Love processes context. And because they elevated Aphrodite so high in terms of genealogy, they were promoting panentheist etherealism, because Aphrodite is in reference to the afro that is produced as the rainbow, that is the afro or the light spectrum that is articulated by the spray of water. It is the wound that is planted by light, by fire, to all the other elements that refract light. Because water is not H2O, in the elemental four, or for myself, or technically everyone, it's the 7 elements: wind, fire, water, earth, tree, man, entropy, or meta. Those are the 7 elements. I'm not talking about the periodic table. Water is in reference to coagula, stratification, becoming, and jazz. That's what water is. Okay? Water is about being reactionary. It's a continuation of the universe's principle at its ends. Okay? Because the universe is the number 3. You have the triangle, the feminine, and its corners and ends, and its whole is the reference points, the place of holding, the fulcrum, purpose to balance, and reaction. Water is a continuity of a more specific reaction. That's what jazz is. It's an event distinguished from numbers, meaning that a compound, an band or symphony creates an harmony that is reactive, meaning it's able to react to your disposition. We react to music because we have an active disposition. We can decide how we are going to have a body language, right? Esoteric body language toward music. We can extend ourselves or not extend ourselves, and it would not result in a collective consciousness. But people would still argue that because they're holding on to a tool, that they are at all times the same as the tool that is being used to confer ability from. Because a tool is akin to a law.